the Indiana Fever beat the Dallas Wings 102-83. This was a highly anticipated game because it was going to be the first time that Caitlin Clark and Paige Bueckers would be going up against one another in the WNBA.
For the past 5 years, BASKET-BALL fans have witnessed one of the most captivating rivalries unfold, Caitlin Clark versus Paige Bueckers. Both were high school prodigies who took divergent paths. Clark committed to Iowa, while Bueckers joined the storied program at UConn. Their college careers eventually collided, with Clark often dominating their showdowns, especially during high-stakes NCAA tournament games. Meanwhile, critics, including legendary coach Geno Auriemma, openly questioned whether Clark's flashy college game would successfully transition into the WNBA. That question hung in the air until last night, when the two finally faced off as professionals for the first time. Clark with the Indiana Fever and Bueckers representing the Dallas Wings. But what transpired on the court wasn't just another game. It was a historic performance by Clark, something only she has managed to do twice in WNBA history. If you're excited to hear about the records shattered that night, go ahead and drop a comment. CC Reeked Wordbreaker. Let's dive in. Imagine this. Two teenage basketball sensations creating waves across the nation, destined to compete on parallel paths for years. Caitlin Clark and Paige Bueckers first met on the court back in high school, both considered elite prospects with distinctly different styles and personalities. Clark was known for her electrifying scoring ability, elite court vision, and limitless shooting range from deep. Bueckers, on the other hand, played with smooth precision, had a deadly mid-range jumper, and possessed an innate ability to read the floor, matching Clark's playmaking brilliance in her own calm, calculated way. Reflecting on their early years, Clark once said, "I've known Paige since middle school. From AAU. We played together on the U19 World Cup team. She's always played the same way, whether it was with USA U16, U19, or back in AAU. She's just smooth, takes what the defense gives her, and her mid-range has always been deadly. She plays way beyond her years, confident, skilled, and can score at all 3 levels. That's just how she's always been, and clearly, it's translated well." Their college journeys diverged in dramatic fashion. Bueckers joined Geno Auriemma at UConn, becoming part of a dynasty known for championship tradition. Clark, meanwhile, chose Iowa program hungry for national respect. That decision led to iconic March Madness battles that helped shape both of their legacies. In those matchups, Clark and her Hawkeyes often had the upper hand, including a monster 41-point game that sent UConn packing early from the tournament. She outdueled Bueckers in 2 of their 3 college meetings. As fans and analysts picked sides, the rivalry took on a life of its own, elevating from mere sports competition to a cultural basketball debate. Some argued that Paige was Caitlin before Caitlin, that Bueckers was the original phenom. But as time went on, especially when Clark posted better professional stats than Bueckers ever had in college, that conversation shifted heavily in Clark's favor. Geno Auriemma wasn't shy in voicing his opinions. He critiqued Clark's decision and doubted whether her shot selection would hold up in the WNBA. He suggested Bueckers had the more polished, fundamentally sound game better suited for professional play. The clash between Clark's high-octane offense and Bueckers' silky efficiency highlighted 2 distinct ideologies about what basketball greatness truly looks like. And when Diana Taurasi made headlines for saying, "This kid's in for a rude awakening," critics pounced on Clark, but what many missed was the full context. Taurasi wasn't just bashing Clark, she was acknowledging the harsh learning curve of the WNBA. She added that Clark was on the wrong team, with a style that wasn't built for the league's physical nature. For any WNBA rookie, proving yourself isn't optional, it's mandatory. And Clark, under intense scrutiny, knew she had to make a statement. When both stars declared for the WNBA, fans eagerly awaited the moment they'd meet on the professional stage. Clark entered with a 2-to-1 edge from their college battles, but her transition into the pros hadn't been easy. Early growing pains with the Fever raised questions about her fit and development. When the matchup against Bueckers was finally scheduled, the hype was immense. ABC picked up the game for national broadcast, expecting massive viewership, and with Clark's recent struggles at Indiana, this game became more than just a rivalry, it became a reputation checkpoint. Clark spoke about leaning on her player development coach for confidence, even drawing comparisons to Steph Curry's slumps. "He showed me a stat. Steph was something like 27 for his last 70. Even the best go through rough stretches. That's where you find confidence. I know how hard I've worked, and I know this won't last forever. The best players go through this." Despite her shooting woes, Clark remained firm. She said the shots she missed were usually ones she always made, which made it all the more frustrating. The pressure was mounting. The Indiana Fever were spiraling just before this critical matchup. Losses to teams like the LA Sparks and Golden State Valkyries left fans confused and disappointed. These weren't elite opponents, they were beatable squads, and Indiana still fell flat. The team's inability to build momentum became a glaring issue. Clark acknowledged the inconsistency. "We'll play one good game, then follow it up with a bad one, then we'll bounce back, only to stumble again. We need to start stringing together solid performances. That's the only way forward." Adding to the pressure was a looming road stretch and the upcoming All-Star break. "We've got Connecticut and then New York on a back-to-back. That's a challenge, no matter who you are. But right now, our focus is on these 3 games. And that's what everyone in the locker room is locked in on," Clark said. Behind closed doors, tensions simmered between Clark's fast-paced vision and Coach Stephanie White's slower, more methodical style. Clark preferred pushing the pace, attacking in transition, and creating quick scoring chances. White, however, wanted to control the game in a half-court setup. This strategic disconnect created real friction. Clark's strengths weren't being fully utilized in White's system. The situation boiled over during a nationally televised game against the Atlanta Dream. Cameras caught a heated exchange between Clark and Coach White right before halftime. Clear proof that the internal disagreements had reached a breaking point. Things only worsened with an unstable lineup. Clark was recovering from injury, trying to regain form. Darisha Dantas returned from national team duties, further disrupting the team's rhythm. Players were unsure of their roles, and the chemistry on the court was fractured. Offensive struggles plagued the Fever. Missed shots, costly turnovers, and a lack of fast break opportunities made games difficult to watch. Clark herself admitted the team's erratic performance was frustrating, especially when she knew that shots she was taking were the same ones she'd made all her life. "I'm never going to stop shooting," she said. She referenced Steph Curry again, noting that even the greats go cold but never lose their confidence. The Fever's win against Atlanta brought temporary relief. They broke their losing streak, but the friction between Clark and White hadn't disappeared. It was merely buried under the surface. The strategic disconnect remained unresolved. Clark summed it up honestly. "It can be frustrating when shots aren't falling, but when I look at the box score, I realize I may be 4 shots away from a great shooting night. That's where I draw confidence. I know those are shots I've hit before, and I'm going to keep taking them. That's all I know." Then came the long-awaited clash with Dallas. The stakes couldn't have been higher. Would Stephanie White finally allow Clark to play her game? Or would she stick to her philosophy, even at the cost of Clark's rhythm? This internal struggle set the perfect stage for another Clark versus Bueckers showdown, with Clark desperate to prove her style could succeed in the WNBA. And then, something incredible happened. Stephanie White finally let go. She gave Clark the green light to dictate the tempo and run the offense her way. This wasn't a minor tweak, it was a complete philosophical shift. White entrusted Clark with full control of the floor, and Clark delivered. The signs were immediate. Lee Yuru had a season-high 18 points. Aaliyah Boston was dishing assists like a point forward. Clark hit a deep 3 and followed it up with a no-look assist to Kelsey Mitchell. Her court vision was on full display. Clark even turned defense into offense, rejecting shots and launching full-court passes that the fans dubbed touchdown throws. The game started cautiously, with both teams feeling each other out in the opening quarter. The Fever looked solid, but nothing game-changing. Clark distributed well and got her teammates involved, but the explosion hadn't arrived yet. Dallas kept pace, and the game remained close. Then the second quarter happened. Dan Clark took over. She pushed the tempo with relentless energy, zipping full-court passes to streaking teammates and controlling the pace masterfully. The Fever erupted for 36 points in just 10 minutes. They outscored the Wings by 21 in the second quarter alone. It was fast-break basketball at its purest, exactly the style Clark had been asking for all season.